Okay, are we live? Are we live? There we are. I think so. Oh, I have a commercial on here. I did not mean to put a commercial on here. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. I shouldn't be monetizing live streams for the Patreon people because you have already monetized it with your Patreon support and YouTube member support. Welcome. If there's any people watching, I see there's 2 people watching right now. I got a crowd. 2's a crowd. Give me just a second. I'm going to post links to this in the community tab and in the Patreon just to let everybody know I'm here. Talk amongst yourselves. Say hi in the live chat. Oh, of course it's going slowly. Hope everybody's having a good weekend so far. It's mine just got started. Ran to the place down the street, got me a breakfast taco, got me some coffee. It is a coffee live stream, so there you go. And yeah. So I am trying something different. If you're looking at this on Patreon, they do have a video post that you can make on Patreon, and there's a live stream post that you can do with quotations. And I don't know what the difference is, so this is kind of a test. I'm kind of just seeing how this works. It might be that doing it live stream style lets you comment on there. Here, let me. Anyway, I got the link in there for those who might just be watching. No. Shoot, sorry. Hang on. Sorry, guys. This will start for real in just a second. I didn't realize I scheduled it. Didn't mean to schedule it. I need to post it now. Publish now. Okay. Now I need to share it in the community tab. There is more to the live stream than just me sitting here talking to myself. Actually, there's not. From this end, there's not. It's just me sitting here talking to myself. Oh, well. I'm sharing it in the YouTube community tab right now for the members. I don't use the community tab probably as much as I should, but I also don't get a lot of interaction there. There's not a whole lot that happens there. Okay, all paid members. Okay, I guess we're live. Cool. So really quickly, actually, it's something I can jump right into. For those of you who are members on YouTube, I guess when you get to a certain size, your channel, YouTube will actually reach out and give you a YouTube rep. They'll give you somebody that will call and check in. They'll go through your channel and answer questions and, work out any bugs that you might be having or try to. And the last time that I chatted with Daniela, is my rep's name, she was talking about the memberships thing. And when they first launched memberships, it was only one tier. It was $5 or $4.99, so $5 a month. And so the only perk really that I put on there were these live streams. It's kind of hard to explain if you're not really all that familiar with the background, the dashboard of YouTube and how it all works. But what I really wish I could do would be to post videos and be able to select for members only, so that maybe I could post videos early and members could get some early access to the videos, just like the Patreon people. But there's all these like hoops that I got to jump through to make that happen instead, which is really annoying. But anyway, when talking to Daniela and we were talking about the whole YouTube members thing, turns out that they just launched tiers. So now I think there's 4 or 5 tiers that I can do, just like in Patreon. So I could do a $5, $10, $20, whatever. And I haven't done this yet because I've just been busy, but I'm going to eventually transfer over to hello. Yeah, the the tiers on Patreon, I'm gonna like transfer those over to the members thing, so that people who are members can get the same things. So Eric is asking about the ad. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know if you saw it earlier. I didn't realize that I have monetization on it. I guess it kind of defaults to that. I didn't set it on there on purpose. There's no reason to do monetization when there's only like 10 people watching. So I apologize that you you had to see that. And actually, I think now that it's started, it's too late to turn it off, or I would turn it off now. So I'm just gonna make people angry today, I guess. Sorry. But all that was to say that if you are a member, which Eric, it looks like you are, new options will be on the way at some point. It always takes me forever to get around to doing these sort of behind the scenes things, because I'm in this flow of constantly putting out content, as you guys know, and it's just kind of hard to take care of these sort of side things when you're just constantly putting out content. When I was at VidCon and I was meeting all these other channels that are much bigger than mine, it was just kind of funny to me, because people would say like, how often do you put out videos? And I'm like, twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. And they're like, what? They're just blown away that I'm doing 2 videos a week. It's like, are you crazy? So I guess I'm kind of crazy, but it's working for me. So I'm trying to keep it up. Okay. So Eric is asking if I brew my own coffee. Yeah, I usually do. Saturday mornings, I guess it's just because it's the weekend. I usually am like, I'm just going to go down the street and get a... So there's a place down the street. It's called the Green Spot from where I live. It's near White Rock Lake. But anyway, they've got really good coffee. Like, it's way better than you would think for like a convenience store, which it is. It's a gas station and a convenience store. And I used to fill up my car there, because my last car was a diesel, and so you can't just get diesel everywhere. Which, by the way, when I moved into the electric car, Jake's saying hi over here. When I jumped over to doing an electric car, for me it wasn't as big a deal about like not having a gas station everywhere anymore, because I was already kind of I don't know if this is true in other parts of the world or whatever, but like not every gas station here in the United States has diesel, so I couldn't just take my car anywhere to fill up anyway. So I was kind of used to that for 13 years, not having 100% access to gas everywhere I went. So I don't know, it wasn't that big of a leap for me. Anyway, point is, the Green Spot is this sort of like eco-friendly. It's exactly the kind of place you would think I would go to, but they have really good breakfast tacos. And so I got a breakfast taco this morning and some coffee. They have really, really good coffee, and they had diesel. So back when I had my diesel car, I would go there, and they actually had kind of biodiesel. I think it was like 15% biodiesel. So that was yet another reason. It's a very hippie place to go to, but oh well, I guess I'm a little bit of a hippie. But yes, most mornings I brew my own coffee, and I use an AeroPress, if you're familiar with that. Makes a pretty good cup of me. That joke's never gonna get old, because I'm still saying it. Christian Z, good morning to you, sir. Leah Grant, how are you? Anya Hofkes from the UK. Good afternoon from the UK. Good afternoon back. And Eric is hung up over my double quotes. Did I go like this? Doesn't everybody do that? Does everybody, or do you normally just do it once and then you're done? I'm always like, da da da. I guess if I only have one word, I'll do it like that. See, okay, that feels very douchey. What's the word I'm looking for? It feels very sarcastic. I use quotes. If you just do it once, it feels very But if you just go, I was walking the other day and I fell. If you do it twice, it's just kind of like, I fell. Nobody's buying it? Okay. Maybe I'm scratching an invisible man's back. Do you ever think of that? No. Of course. Harry Evett, how you doing, man? How come I've got like a bazillion subscribers but just 12 people watching? Asks Wayne. Well, this is only for Patreon people, and there's not a bazillion Patreon people. And actually, it's not even for all Patreon people. It's for $5 and up Patreon people, so that knocks out like at least probably half of the Patreon supporters I have. So I don't know. So that's, you know what? Let's jump down that rabbit hole. That's actually a good question, because I do want people to feel like they're getting their money's worth, their Patreon worth. It doesn't really, I don't get like offended if more people don't show up for live streams or anything, but I do want to make sure that it's something you guys enjoy. If I'm going to take the time to do it, and if it's a perk that you guys get, I want to make sure it's something that you want, and that I'm giving you what you're asking for here. So, I mean, I am always up for suggestions from anybody who has ideas of ways to improve the live stream, things that I could add to it that I'm not doing now. I've never been the greatest live streamer in the world. I kind of just get on here and wing it. At least I don't like panic and get nervous whenever I do a live stream now. I used to get really nervous whenever I did a live stream, but now it's just like, whatever. Like anything, the more you do it, the more you just kind of get used to it. I just had some message come through on Patreon. So I'm going to repeat myself a little bit. I am trying something a little bit different on Patreon. When you do a post on Patreon, you can do a video post or a live stream post. And God, you got me self-conscious about my quotations now. Thanks, guys. Anyway, I normally post this just as a video that people could kind of watch on Patreon, and then I usually say, look, if you want to join the live chat, click over to the YouTube page. But there is a live stream option when I post to Patreon, so I was trying that today just to see what the difference is. And I just got a comment. Let me see what. So it's Eddie. I was listening to a live stream. My home. Hit me. Why don't you just collect up all the awesome segues? Oh. So Eddie's asking. Okay. Eddie and anybody who might be watching on Patreon and you're leaving comments in Patreon, I would encourage you to click over to the YouTube page, to the YouTube channel, or to the YouTube video and use the live chat there, just because otherwise I'm going to be going back and forth, and it doesn't automatically update on Patreon, so I will miss your comment likely is what I'm saying. So if you want me to see your comment, probably the best option is to go to YouTube. But your question was, why don't we just collect up all the awesome segues that we do on our Ludicrous Future and I guess do a compilation of it? It's funny. Why don't we just do that? I don't know. We could do that. We do have a guy who edits those together. There's not a whole lot of editing involved. It's just slapping on an intro and an outro. But I don't know. We can maybe ask him to do that. I mean, I'm sure he's got copies of them everywhere. So, I don't know. The little segues have become a whole thing, and the exit where we are ludicrous. It's so silly and stupid. Like we talk about changing it and getting a little bit more organized about it, but I think that's kind of part of the charm. So whatever. Let's see. Anya asks, what would I like to talk about this morning? I do have some things to talk about. I'll get to that in a second. Chris Kibb says, "Congrats on the 500." Thanks, man. Would love to send money for coffee fund. No, I'm good on coffee. Trust me, it's every day. There's a coffee shop down the street that I go to, and it's become my Cheers. I go in there, and they all know my name, and they know what I'm having usually. So that's kind of nice. It's nice to have a place like that. A lot of people that are, I guess, self-employed, whatever you want to call it, work from home. They join those co-working spaces, and I've thought about doing that, but there's not really one anywhere nearby. And honestly, I think I would probably just stay home most of the time anyway. And it just seems like a lot of money. And I think the main reason most people do that is just to get out of the house. And some people work better when they get out of the house. And that's true for me too. One of the reasons I go to the coffee shop, and this is kind of funny, it's a weird sort of peer pressure thing. Like if I'm sitting at home, I'll futz around and I'll get on Facebook and I'll watch a movie. You know, I'll like do stuff that is not productive. And then suddenly it's 3:00 and it's like, oh crap, I haven't done anything all day. Or I haven't gotten much done today. Whereas if I go to a coffee shop, I mean, I could still do those things. I could still be on Facebook or something the whole time. I'm using Facebook as an example. I'm actually not on Facebook that often. But I could be unproductive there too. But I don't know. There's something about, like, if I'm at a coffee shop and there's people around, I feel like I've got to look important. Like I'm doing something. I feel like I've got to... There's like this weird social pressure to like be productive and do something and look at me typing. Yes, I'm a typist. I'm a writer. I'm a smart guy. I'm Hemingway over here, right? Something about that just, it puts this, not from anybody else. It's all totally internal, but I put this pressure on myself to actually do something, to look like I'm not just screwing around, and what do you know? I get stuff done. And I think, you know, just getting out of the house every once in a while is good. You get a little cabin fever. The only thing I feel bad about is that I can't take the dogs with me, and so they're just kind of sitting here all day long, which is what most people's dogs deal with, so they're spoiled. Is my wife a coffee addict also? She's not. She doesn't really care for it. Actually, you know what? It's funny. She drinks these little protein shakes every day. And she's started adding coffee to it, but it's not like brewed coffee. It's this bottled coffee that she buys. So, I mean, it's coffee. But she she adds that to her shake. I guess she just likes the taste of it, or maybe she likes the little bit of caffeine that it gives her. But she doesn't like coffee, not like I do. Every once in a while she'll drink some. But it's not like me, not at all. Eco-friendly and diesel, am I Volkswagen? I'm not Volkswagen, but I used to drive a Volkswagen. Felipe, how you doing? It says, I loved your recent personal video. We all feel anxiety from time to time. Oh, the TMI video? Okay. At least you can feel better that your video helped a random guy in Chile. That's why I talked about it. That's exactly why I talked about it. And it's funny because I'm okay. I'm not nearly like in the bad place, you know. I've been in the bad place many times, but I'm fine now. And I think I've found ways to manage it. And I think I've been able to, over time, figure out like the early signs that I could be slipping into the bad place. So, excuse me. So I know to kind of be like, okay, time to distract myself. Let's not go there. That could lead down a slide into oblivion. But the reason I do talk about it openly on the channel and on, you know, the way I did is every time that I do talk about it, I get a message like that. I get a message from somebody that is like, hey, I'm dealing with that and this helps. And I'm certainly not, I don't, I've talked about this in various places, so if I'm repeating myself, just please forgive me, but there's a funny thing that happens when you share what's going on with you, when you share your, I hate this term, it's so cheesy, when you share your truth. Um, but when you share real stuff about yourself, when you just are transparent and you say, look, this is what's going on with me. We're not all that different out there in the world. And it's just amazing to me. It never ceases to amaze me how just sharing what you're going through connects to somebody else because other people are going through the same thing. The first time I really experienced that was when I made my movie. And so this was a long ass time ago. This was 2005 or something like that. No, the very first. No, it wasn't the very first screening. It was one of the film festival screenings that I had of Oceanfront Property. Which, if you don't know anything about it, that's perfectly fine. But it was a movie about a guy who gets dumped at the altar, and then he goes to this beach house to try to get over her. She shows up with her new husband, and it's like, what would you do if you were stuck on a deserted island with the girl that broke your heart, kind of thing. But it's all about him learning to... it's all about him kind of getting over his depression over her and learning to forgive and that kind of thing. Anyway... I was at a film festival and I screened, and a young guy, probably, if he wasn't in high school, he was probably just out of high school, but he came up to me afterwards and he thanked me. And I was like, okay. He's like, no, I've been dealing with this really bad breakup and this was, this helped so much. And I just wanted to thank you for making this. And, it blew me away because in no way was I trying to help anybody by making that movie. I was trying to start my film career. I was trying to get some screenwriting deals and stuff, like that. I was trying to be Ed Burns with his brothers McMullen. That's what it was supposed to be. But and he wasn't the last kid that did that. That happened several times. People would come up and say, thank you for making this movie. And I was always like, thank you? What are you talking? I didn't make this for you. I'm trying to get famous here. Shut up. But that was the first taste that I had of that. Just me sharing. And it was based on a true event that happened to me. I mean, it was based on it. It wasn't a retelling of the thing. But no, it happened over and over again. It just blew my mind. And now that I'm doing YouTube, every time I talk about my personal issues and the things that affect me and what I'm dealing with, there's somebody else out there who's dealing with the same thing. And I think just knowing that you're not alone in that, I think it helps people. So it's one of the most amazing things about doing the YouTube thing. It's been easily the most surprising thing about it. I was not expecting that kind of response from people. But that's, I don't know. It's really, I don't know. It's changed my, I guess, view of the world in humanity. It makes me feel a lot more connected to a lot more people. It's a good feeling. So anyway, kind of went into a long story there. Eric says, well, how long at night do you think about death? And does your wife tire of it? Well, I don't talk to her about it. I don't lay there and be like, honey, I think I'm gonna die someday. No, she has no idea it's happening, unless it gets so bad that it's like, okay, I need to talk about this. But that's very, very rare. And look, I was making a fun intro to a video, so there was some hyperbole and there was some exaggeration, but it does, like, it's. Here's actually what happens now. Like the little sketch that I did where the brain is just talking and talking, and I'm over here like, oh my God. What happens now is I'm laying there and some voice in my head says something about, this must be what death is like or something. And then the rest of my head is like, oh my God, seriously, go away. The rest of my brain is so tired of that voice that it just kind of shuts it down pretty quickly. And I think that helps me to keep from sliding. I don't know. I was thinking the other day about how, like, yes, look, I'm going to die someday and that's a terrible thing. I don't like thinking about it. But what I think is far more tragic, like, I could die in the next week. I could get some horrible disease or cancer or something and be gone in the next 6 months or something. That's a tragedy. That would be terrible. Of course, I don't want that. But I think what's far worse than that would be for me to live to 90 years old and spend every single day terrified that I'm going to die in the next 6 months. You know, that's worse. So that's what I have to like keep going through in my head and being like, you know what, this isn't helping. This isn't something you have any control over. You have to just focus on what's in front of you and get through life. That's, I think, the human condition. So yeah. Oh, hey Sean, he's late. What did he miss? I think every time I see your name on these live streams, I'm like, look, it's right here. I keep it right here on my desk. You haven't missed anything. I've just been ranting. Kyle Taylor, what am I reading right now? Oh, I've got it right here. I'm reading Life 3.0, Being Human in the Age of Artificial Intelligence, and really enjoying it. It sounds like something I would like. You know what I need to read? I've had a million people tell me about it. My wife's read it. It's downstairs. Is Sapiens, or Sapien, from Yuri Noval, whatever his name is. Anyway, I've heard a million people talk about that book, and it's right up my alley, and I just need to read it. But what I'm reading right now, I feel like I brought this up somewhere, so I may be repeating myself, but it's called 1177 BC, the year civilization collapsed. I know it's a real page turner. It's a real feel-good movie. It's a book about the collapse of the Bronze Age civilizations around 1177 BC. This will be coming up in a video soon at some point. I guarantee you. It's been something that's really been fascinating to me. So as some of you know, I went to Greece this summer for a vacation. My wife and I, we kind of celebrated our 10th anniversary a year late. But yeah, so I went to Greece and I went to Santorini. So Santorini is this beautiful island. It's this Instagram paradise, and there's just nothing but people, Instagram models being cheesy everywhere. But, and it is beautiful, and it's deservedly so. But I was, the nerd that I am, I was blown away by the fact that it's a giant volcano. If you're not familiar, it's a caldera. It's a crescent-shaped island that used to be a full island that was a volcano, and it blew up, and there was a civilization that lived there that they really don't know that much about, but there's a big archaeological site there called Akrotiri that it's kind of fascinating. It's really fascinating, actually. So there was a civilization that lived there. It's kind of like their Pompeii, right? Like the island exploded, and when I mean exploded, like there used to be an island there, and now there's a donut because it all blew up. And when I was at that hotel that we were staying in, of course, it's got this beautiful view of the caldera and everything. I'm standing there looking out there, and the scale of it is just it's more than your mind can conceive of just what kind of energy it would take and what kind of explosion it would do to literally obliterate an island. Like, this used to be a whole island, and now it's gone. Well, on the edge of the island is this Akrotiri site, which was a city that was there before it blew up. And so yeah, it's like their Pompeii. It's covered in ash and debris and everything. But what's interesting is they haven't found any bodies. So they think that the people living there were able to flee and go somewhere else before this happened. But they've got all this pottery, and it's all 3,000 years old, almost 4,000 years old. This same explosion, I'm getting to my point eventually, sorry, but this same explosion also wiped out the, is it the Minoans on Crete? Yeah, I believe it was the Minoan civilization. Like, it caused a tsunami that hit Crete so hard that it kind of set back the Minoan civilization to the point that it never fully recovered. So this one explosion basically wiped out two civilizations. And that just kind of got me interested in that time period, I guess. And I stumbled on a video of a presentation that the author of this, Eric Klein, was giving about the collapse of Bronze Age civilizations that actually happened a little bit later than the Thera explosion. Thera is the Greek name for Santorini. Santorini came later, but anyway, so I'm watching this video and I just got totally sucked into it, and I was like, God, this is fascinating. And actually, after having just been there and kind of seeing that with my own eyes, it just kind of like sparked an interest in me. I watched this guy's presentation. I thought it was fascinating. I looked him up. He's written this book, so I got this book, and yeah, it's fascinating. So like in the year 1177 BC, there were all these Bronze Age civilizations that had been going for hundreds of years. There were the Hittites, the Mycenaeans, the Egyptians, the Assyrians. I'm missing some. There were like 5 of them. The Cypriots from Cyprus. But anyway, there were all these Bronze Age civilizations. They were going strong. They had this sort of trade network between them all. They were like a lot more globalized, although it's, I guess, more regionalized than we think they were. They were all very, interconnected and stuff. And then all at the same time, around 1177 BC, they all collapsed. Like 6 or 7 different civilizations collapsed completely. Like Egypt was the only one that survived, and it sort of barely survived. It was never the Egypt it used to be after that. And this basically is talking about all the reasons why that might have happened. And of course, since they were lost to time, it's all through archaeological evidence, and they're kind of piecing it all together, the giant puzzle and everything. Part of it was what they called the Sea Peoples. There was this very mysterious group of people that were collectively known as the Sea Peoples. Apparently, it was a bunch of different. It wasn't one group of people; it was several of them, but they were collectively known as the Sea Peoples. And they came through and they marauded and they hoarded and they wiped out cities. And once upon a time, they thought that's all it was this band of sea people came in and wiped out all these long-standing civilizations. Well, now they know it's a combination of different things. It might have been what they call it, an earthquake storm. Sometimes tectonically, like plates are shifting to the point where it like sets off a series of earthquakes. It's almost like a zipper, just like that. And so there may have been earthquake storms that wiped out a whole bunch of cities. But what's fascinating to me, and I'm going to be having to talk about this at some point, was that the Sea Peoples probably actually came from not Northern Europe, but north of where they were in Europe. So actually more probably what we call Eastern Europe now. But they came down from there because they had droughts and famines and, climate change. They had climate change. Climate change is a real thing, and it's happened before. And I guess the point that I want to make in a video in some way is there's a lot of people that are so flippant about it now, and they're like, oh, the climate's always been changing, it's a natural thing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm kind of like, yeah, and it's wiped out multiple civilizations, that probably thought that it could never happen to them. So anyway, I'm almost at the end of it. I'm getting close to the end of it. It doesn't look like I'm getting close to the end. It looks like there's still a whole lot left, but literally like probably 3/4 of what's left are just like notes and acknowledgments and stuff. Which I am a nerd, but I'm not going to just go through all those. They're there if I need them or whatever. But anyway, it's not exactly a page turner. Every other name in there is something I can't pronounce, and my brain just kind of like skips right over it, and then I can't keep track of who's who because I don't keep track of the names. But it's interesting. It's becoming really interesting to read. Anyway, wow, I went off on a very long tangent there. But no, the Life 3.0 looks interesting to me. Like I said, I think when I finish this, I'm going to try to get on Sapien, and then there's Homo Deus that he also wrote. It's kind of a follow-up to that. We have both of them downstairs. I just need to read them. Story of my life. Eric says, this whole week you will think of how many times you double quote. Yes, I know. Thank you. Sawyer asks, is gun a taboo word here? I don't think so. Did I skip over the word gun? Did you ever post the movie to us subscribers? Asks Eric. Did I? I know a lot of Patreon people have seen it. It's I live streamed it one time. When I hit 50,000 subscribers, I live streamed the movie. So it's on YouTube, but it might be unlisted. I can share it. I'll share it with you guys if you want to see it. But the good thing about it being unlisted on YouTube is I can just give you that link. It's not like I've got to upload it anywhere. It's not a big deal. Kyle just finished Sapiens and loves it. Sam loves Sapiens. Sean says he's going to send me something cooler than Griffin. It's cool. Actually, you know what? On that note, there was something I was going to do here. If you guys want me to. Wayne likes my shirt. It's kind of Tron-like because of the lines. Something about these lines makes me look more broad than I normally do. Looks like I got shoulders or something. So I don't know. I like this shirt. Yeah. So a thing that I've been working on lately is, and I've been talking about this literally since the beginning of this year. So it's terrible, but I finally kind of started making some headway on it. I'm redoing the background. Ultimately, I'm going to redo a lot of things. I've got to get a new computer. As I talked about in my TMI video yesterday. Got to get a new computer, which means I might have to redo where the camera is just based on where things are here. It's kind of hard for you to see from where you are. But I need to push these lights back. I've been meaning to do that for a while. The problem is it's the inverse square law when it comes to light. So it's actually like I can almost touch the light from here. Actually, there, I can touch the light. It's really close. But what that means is that every time I move back, and as you know, when I do my videos, I do a lot of, now I'm here, right? I actually get darker when I move back because I'm literally twice as far away from the light as I am when I'm up here. So I need to move the lights back so that it'll be evened out a little bit more and it won't be so like going dark, going light. Anyway, that's a little thing. But I'm kind of waiting to do it all at the same time. But in redoing the background here, all of these little stands represent people who signed up at the $20 Patreon level. So back in the day, if you signed up for $20 Patreon level, you would get your name in the credits, which are still there, and you would get a little stand up here with your name on it. The problem with that is as the Patreon grew and there were more and more people at that level, it became really difficult to keep up with that and create these little stands and put them up there. And not to mention that a lot of, probably a good number of these are people who are no longer Patreons that I should have taken out a long time ago. But I mean, that's a lot to keep up with, to constantly be going back and switching all those out. So what I've decided to do, now that I'm at a place where there's enough people to kind of justify this, is so there were the $20 Patreons over here, and then there were these guys, all these little actual icons over here. These actually were for people who donated over a certain amount of money cumulatively. And I forget, I called them the super answer files, but I forget what the number used to be, but the number now is 500. Which, saying it out loud, sounds insane that there's people that have donated that much to my channel. But because that's such a huge deal that somebody would have supported at that, that amount, I want to recognize that. I feel like that's worth getting something up on the shelf. There are people who have donated that much over time that don't even have a stand up. And then there are people up there that have stands up that haven't given money in probably 6 months. So I need to redo all this. Point is, I started ordering some more stuff that I'm going to put up back there. I thought I could share that with you guys. Ew. Haven't even opened it. Haven't even opened it yet. Hang on. So this might probably won't actually sometimes the words do things. This was sent to me by ULA. I did a video on ULA a while back, and they actually just sent me this in the mail, which is kind of cool. It's a little Vulcan rocket. Hang on, I can't see here. can't get it all on the screen. There we go. So yeah, it's a little Vulcan rocket. I'm gonna put that back there. I'm not sure that I will have that actually like represent anybody, but you know, if people send me something, that's kind of cool. I'll put it up. Little Vulcan rocket from ULA. That was very nice of them. And also, when I did the video about the top upcoming mega telescopes that are on the way, one of them was the 30-meter telescope, and the people at the 30-meter telescope sent me a little model of their 30-meter telescope. I got to put this together. I got to build this. And it had a lovely little note that they added here. Isn't that cool? I can't believe I get to get stuff like this. It's so cool. And it's clearly from China or Japan because it's all it's all in like Chinese characters. But anyway, so I don't know, maybe I'll do a live stream where I put this together. It'll probably take forever. But I'm going to put this together and put it back there to thank them. I got 3 packages that came in the mail, and I have not even opened it yet, so I'm doing it with you guys. Let me get caught up, though. I think you guys were talking here. Where would you like to go for the 20-year reunion? How about your wife? Different or same tastes as each other on vacation destinations? 20-year... When we say reunion, I guess you mean anniversary for my wife. I don't know. We're talking about, like, where to go next. We got married in Italy, and we would like to go back there at some point. In fact, that was going to be what we were going to do this last trip. But when it all came down to it, we were like, well, we've already been there. Let's go someplace new. Okay. So I have a few buddies that I do I guess a mastermind, we started calling it that. They are other YouTubers, but they've sort of moved in different directions. It's kind of interesting. We've been doing it for a few years now, and I'm the only one that's still like hardcore YouTube. And they've mostly moved into like Amazon retail stuff. Some of them have built their own some of them have built their own products. Others just kind of like sell merchandise on Amazon or whatever. It's kind of interesting how they've all kind of gone in different directions. But anyway, this is one of them. There's a buddy of mine named Tom. And he actually was supporting me on Patreon for a really long time. But I wanted to put this up there just to help a brother out. He has a product called the Rocket King Camping Stove. And I figured it has rocket in the title. That's good enough for me. Yeah. You can see his little logo there, Rocket King. But it's a camping stove that you can kind of see it there. It's a camping stove. You put sticks and stuff down in there, and you can set a pot on top and cook with it. It's a pretty neat little stove. And it comes in a flat pack thing. This is what I'm opening up right here. But you can see it's like a little metal. So I will assemble this and put it. That's kind of big though, isn't it? It could go in the back. But that's just to help out a friend because Tom's been a good buddy of mine for a long time. So I ordered that from Amazon, and then literally I ordered it, and then like 30 minutes later, I hopped on my regular Wednesday call with him, and I was like, you need to order more because you only had one, and I just bought it. So, what is this? I've already forgotten. So, this getting dark thing is actually a nice touch. Maybe use a light from top to look holy. I guess you were talking about me moving the lights. That was from Sawyer. It's funny because back when I had a different camera, I had a Canon 7D, which is what I used to record these on, and it did not have autofocus. So a big part of how I lit these videos was because I had to get, and I don't know how much you guys know about photography, but I had to get to a point where the lower the light source and the higher you have to make your f-stop. And when I say higher, it actually means goes lower in number, so down to like 1.4, 2.8, whatever. The lower you stop down, the shorter the depth of field you have. So when I would do this moving around in the frame thing, I would go out of focus every single time. So what I had to do was I had to like blast the light so that I could stop up to something really high, like a 16 or something. And in that way I had a deeper depth of field and I could move around a little bit. So I still kind of have the same lighting setup, but now I've got a camera that autofocuses, so I don't have to worry as much about my depth of field. In fact, having a shallower depth of field might actually look kind of more interesting. So I can lessen the light a little bit and move them back is what I'm saying. I've got a little bit more flexibility than I used to have. Oh, yay! Okay. I hope you guys think this is as fun as I do. There's a guy named Andre who has been supporting the channel for a long time on Patreon. And so I got Andre the Giant. I got an Andre the Giant action figure. And it's also got the $1 Million Man. So this, if you're an 80s kid like I was, and you probably remember the $1 Million Man, I don't need the $1 Million Man. I don't know, maybe I'll give him away to somebody, but I wanted Andre. So I got Andre the Giant. He's going to go back there. That's a decent size. I was worried it'd be too small. No, that's good. That's good. I like that. I don't want to throw it down there. If you could see my desk right now, I swear to God, there's like hardly even any space to put anything. It's terrible. Anya says it looks like I need a PA. Yeah, I could probably use one. And I've said this before. I hope that in the coming months and whatever, I can start doing some stuff that's not just right here in my desk, you know. Everything about the way I do this show is all about finding efficiencies and making it so that I can pump out the content. I'm in this growth phase and it's working, so I don't want to screw with it. But, ooh, that's something else I can talk about here in a second. Something really cool happened this last week. But where I'm going with that is I want to be able to get outside the desk and do stuff out in the world from time to time. And for that, I probably will need a camera person or a PA or something. Okay, so what else have I got here? A guy named Terry is supporting at a ridiculous level, and I'm very thankful for it. I did a little snooping and found out that he does off-road motorcycle riding, so I got a little motorcycle I'm going to put up there. It's like, when I ordered these, I got them from Amazon, and I didn't know exactly how, I mean, they'll say the size, but I wasn't quite sure until I got in here, like, how it would fit and everything, so that's a good size, that's cool. And, I think the guy's name is Joseph. I'm kind of blanking on his name right now, but there's another guy who is a doctor, so I got a TARDIS. I'm going to put a TARDIS back there. And that's what I've got right now. I think there's some more on the way. But yeah, so I'm going to, at some point, clear all those stands out. I guess if people have a stand back there and they want it, I can send it to them. I'm not going to just throw them away. But yeah, all these little icons that I've got over here, they're going to sort of spread, and they're going to fill that whole thing like that. Yeah. So there you go. So this was the exciting thing that happened this last week. Let me just jump into that real quick, and then I can get back to sort of responding to your chats. So let's say from the beginning of this year, I have had a team of 2 people. One of them is Nick. He's my editor. And one is a guy named Ryan, who has been helping me write and research videos. And he does 1 or 2 a month. And he's a research fiend, man. I don't even know where he gets I don't know how he finds the stuff that he finds. It's remarkable. But anyway, so basically how it works with Ryan is he picks a topic that I've kind of written down. Picks a topic that he likes. He goes out and he writes his version of it. He sends it to me, and then I do my, here we go, Joe Pass, and I put my spin on it. I put my voice into it. I make it sound more conversational like I would speak, and I translate it into me. So it's for anybody who's worried that I've got other people writing my stuff and it's not going to be me anymore. It's still me. They just kind of give me a rough version of it, and then I turn it into a video that's mine. And that, what, sometimes that means I can take what they gave me and literally just read it and throw in my own, my own slant, my own whatever attitude, and that's good enough. Sometimes I gotta totally rework it, and I gotta move things around, and I gotta create a whole different narrative around the story and everything. So sometimes it's a lot less work, and sometimes it's a little less work, but it's always less work. And it takes a little bit of time off my plate, and it helps me out quite a bit. Anyway, so it's been Nick and Ryan this whole time. Nick doesn't do any writing. He just does the editing. I say just does the editing. He edits every video, and he does 2 a week. It's amazing. But on Tuesday of this last week, I had the first of 3 what I will call production meetings with myself, Nick, Ryan, and 2 new writers. It's a 3-month test that I'm doing. So I've got 3 writers, and I'm having them all do 2 videos a month. And so I will specifically focus on 2 videos myself. So there's 8 videos a month. So 6 of them are covered by other people, and I'll do 2 of them. Now, again, in the end, I wind up writing all of them because I take what they give me and I put my own spin on it. But they get me like 60 to 70% there. So it's still like half the work. At least that's the idea. So they've all, let me look back here. Which, the videos that have come out recently, the Coincidences video from Thursday, that was written by one of the new guys. The Radium Girls video, that was written by one of the new guys. So those were like the tests that they did. So if you were okay with those videos, that was done through this process. But anyway, so over the next 3 months, they're going to be handling 6 out of the 8 videos every month. I will be focusing on 2. And the hope is that by the end of the 3 months, we'll have a system in place so that the 2 videos that I'm focusing on might be longer form. I might be going into a 30 or 40 minute video essay kind of thing. There's some other channels that I've run across that do video essays that are in that length, and I've found that I'll watch one video and I think it's just an algorithm thing. The algorithm says, hey, you watched 40 minutes of this person's channel yesterday, you must really like it. And so they start just like, it's all I see are suggested videos from these other people. So algorithmically, I think it's smart to throw in longer form content every once in a while. And so I'm hoping I can maybe dabble in that a little bit. I'm hoping I could do some more like interviews and outside this room type stuff. I'll give you a sneak peek. One of them that I'm thinking about, hopefully by the end of September, is here in Dallas, there's the superconducting super collider, which never happened. It was like this huge thing. It would have been bigger than the Large Hadron Collider in Europe. Like it would still be the biggest particle collider in the world. And they got like, what, $3 or $4 billion into it, and the budget for it just went too high, and political pressures came in, and the whole thing fell through. So I want to do a video on that, and it's nearby. And if I'm not mistaken, there's areas that you can still go down into the tunnels that they've built, and I want to go down there. I've heard that they flooded it, actually, but I think there's some areas you can still kind of get down and look at. I need to find some people that worked on it or that have access to it and interview them. But to me, that's interesting, and it's right in my backyard, and I should be at least willing to take a 15-minute drive down the road to do something like that. I said Dallas. It's actually not Dallas. It's Waxahachie, which is south of here, so it's really more like 20 miles, 30 miles away. But that's the idea. So like if I have this team now working on these, and I'm going to do it for 3 months, and if it just straight up doesn't work and it turns out that managing a team of writers is more difficult than me just going out and writing them, then, I'll put the kibosh on it. But if it does work, then hopefully it'll free me up to do a lot more bigger things and grow the channel and evolve the channel in a direction that I think and I hope all of you guys will like. So, yeah, that was exciting. That's something that's starting up this week, and they've all picked topics and so here's the thing, like the idea is it will create less work for me, but in the beginning it's going to be more work because they all picked like, so there's 3 of them. Anyway, there's 12 videos that I've got to go through before they get started on it, and I got to provide notes and I've got to outline them to give them a direction. I'm not going to just say, here's a topic, go do whatever, because that's too big of a box. So that's what I'm doing now, is on top of getting Monday's video out, which is running late, like always. On top of that, I've got to give notes to these guys so that they can get started and get this whole process going. I hope that I'll be able to finish Thursday's video because I had started it a long time ago. It's probably about halfway written already. And actually, it's what I'm going to be doing when I get done with this. But there's a chance that I might miss Thursday again. I missed a couple of Thursdays ago. And that's the whole thing, is like I was kind of trying to get all this stuff set up, and it's like I can sacrifice a couple of Thursday videos to set this thing up. You know, sometimes you gotta back up a little bit. And I'm also trying to, work on this whole background thing like I was talking about. But anyway, that's what I'm going to be working on, is getting notes and outlines for these 12 videos over the next few months. And Thursday might have to be sacrificed, but we'll see. Like I said, I had started writing Thursday's video a long time ago, so it's like halfway done. We'll see. Anyway. Wayne is saying, take a picture of my desk. It's not as bad as I say. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. I've got stuff on top of stuff. On top of stuff. Actually, it's partly why you haven't seen a random or a tangent cam much lately. Because this room is a disaster right now. And whenever I shoot with the tangent cam looking this direction, there's always people that are like, your room's a mess. It's like, I know! Shut up! Mitchell Rodriguez says, sup, y'all? Showing up a little late, that's alright. Benjamin T-Gents, this channel's cool enough that even people on fixed incomes are willing to be Patreon supporters. Well, I hope that's not true. I feel really bad if somebody is like struggling and they're giving me their money. I'm doing okay. I'm doing fine. But I will say, this team, actually, so the reason why I wanted to make sure and talk about this with you guys, I can't believe I didn't say it a second ago. And I made an announcement about this somewhere. I don't remember where. It might have been on another live stream. But now that I have a decent amount of sponsorship money coming through and AdSense is doing okay. AdSense can fluctuate wildly. But the Patreon money that I receive, 100% at this point goes to this team. So this team that I've built, if you're wondering how I'm paying for it, it's with your help. It's you guys are helping me pay for it. So that's basically what I'm 100% using Patreon money for now, because I feel like that's the best use of it. I feel like if you guys are supporting the channel, whether you're on a fixed income or not, if you're supporting the channel with your wallet, it should go into growing the channel in some way. It should go directly into that. It shouldn't be just going into a bank account that I can use to whatever. Like that's, I don't need that to live off of anymore. I'm making enough from the other things to live off of and pay my rent, and that's fine. So I'm going to take this Patreon money and I'm going to directly hand it over to these people who are helping me build the channel. So I think that's the best use of it, honestly. And thank you. Thank you to all of you for... I wouldn't be able to have a team if it wasn't for the help that you guys are giving me. So if you ever wonder if it's making a difference, there you go. It's absolutely making a difference. So thank you. And Wayne saying, free Joe up to do bigger and better things. Thank you. Yes, I like that. So you guys like the idea of the longer videos. Cool. All right. So Christian's saying, interesting to hear that the Radiant Girls video is from another writer. I think it blends very well with the style of the channel. Yeah, it did, didn't it? So funny thing, the guy who wrote it is not a writer. I was already kind of thinking about like people I could reach out to kind of join this team. And again, it's really more of an experiment. I made that very clear to them. Like, this could work. It might not work. We'll see. But let's just give it a try. I'm paying them for it, obviously. But yeah, no, this guy has been a buddy of mine for a while. And I kind of knew him through the film world. He was more of a crew person. But he also works in marketing. I don't know. Every once in a while, he'll send me ideas for topics. Most of my friends, my real life friends, don't really follow the channel. And when they do, it's almost kind of weird for me because they like reference something I did on the video. It's like, oh, sure. Oh, that's right. You can see that. But this guy, he would send me ideas he would send me articles that he thought would make good videos. He would chime in every once in a while. It's like, hey, the video today, you talked about this, and I wanted to add to it with blah, 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 you know. Well, that happened while I was at VidCon, and I was already in that mindset of, like, I need to, make this thing happen. And he texted me something about the video that came out that day, and I texted him back, and I was like, are you a writer at all? Do you have any writing experience? And he was like, no. And I jumped on the phone with him, and I told him what I wanted to do, and I was like, do you want to try one? Do you want to just give it a try? And so I gave him that one, and he did it in pretty good time. And don't get me wrong, I put my own work into it. It was rough what he gave me, but even a professional writer, even Ryan, who is a professional writer, there was a long learning curve to get the style down, to get the format. I do have a bit of a template that I go by in terms of like story structure. It's like the setup, the lists, go deeper kind of thing. Considering A, he's never done one before, and B, he's not even a writer, I was like, wow, yeah, I think you could do this. So now he's on the experimental team. He's on the beta test. I don't know. I like to think that I see things in people. I'm patting myself in the back for the work he did. That's who I am, apparently. But no, so he's done one, and it turned out all right. He's working on one right now, and we'll see how it goes. I'm excited. I'm really excited about it. Did you know the red storm spot on Jupiter is shrinking fast? Asked Benjamin. My question is why? Oh, yeah, the great red spot. Yeah, no, global warming, climate change. No. No, that's been going on for a while. Yeah, you're right. And it's really interesting when you look at like the photos from Voyager and what we're seeing now. It's shrunk by almost half. It's gotten a lot smaller. I don't know why. Jupiter is just like nothing but fluid dynamics. It is absolute chaos. And when you watch the clouds swirling and everything, I don't know, maybe a bigger mystery is how that storm stayed there for so long. But no, it is definitely shrinking. It's not a bad idea for a video. Hang on. I don't know if that was the point of you asking that, but I'm writing it down. In case you guys wondered where I get my video ideas from, there you go. Oh, Sean says I'm doing a great job on the channel management, hands-on. Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. See, that was my concern. I was concerned about if I had a whole team of people, which now would be 4 people, counting Nick, the editor. I've never really had to manage a team before. I've always been a loner, a rebel. And I had my doubts as to whether or not it's something that I really want to... do I want to spend my time managing people, or do I want to be creating stuff, And my hope is that I could kind of be doing both by focusing my energies on 1 or 2 videos a month and making them big and doing cooler things with them. Maybe that would get my my creativity recharged. And let's be honest, I've been doing this channel for a long time, and all of these videos, I don't want them to get formulaic, but in order to pump them out at the rate that I'm pumping them out, they kind of have to be. Like you can't reinvent the wheel every single time. You kind of have to just have this format and go with it, which isn't necessarily even a bad thing. I think the people like the consistency. I think people like the comfort of it. I think that's why people like old sitcoms, is because they were very formulaic and they were in the same place all the time and it was the same characters and it was like home, you know? So I think there's an element of that is true on the YouTube channels as well. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but from a creative standpoint, from a me feeling fulfilled as a creative person standpoint, it would be better, I feel, to charge my batteries by doing bigger, more interesting things. And plus the channel needs to evolve and grow at some point. So yeah. So you guys are talking about Jupiter now. Eric says, pay rent. Are you not a homeowner? Yeah, I'm a home. Did I say rent earlier? It's mortgage. It's the same. Rent is a shorter word than mortgage, and I'm just that lazy. But yes, we own the home, or the bank owns the home, and we pay them for the pleasure of living here. If you do a movie on Jupiter, you should make sure and point out that NASA sent his wife Juno to check up on him and his love affairs. That's Mitchell. Yeah, that's one of my favorite little trivia questions or whatever. Like that's really funny. Like if you don't know what Mitchell's referring to, so they named the moons of Jupiter. Was it Ganymede, Callisto? I'm gonna fart. Io, is Io one of them? Anyway, the 4 main moons of Jupiter were named after his, in the Greek mythology around Jupiter, were named after his lovers, his mistresses, and then NASA sent the Juno probe out to Jupiter, and Juno in Greek mythology was the name of Jupiter's wife. So it's kind of funny that Juno is going out there to check up on him and his lovers. I always thought that was funny. Wayne Bauer says, my videos are formulaic like Nickelback. God, I hate that band. Chad Kroeger might be the nicest guy in the world. I don't know, but he has the most punchable face on earth. Like every time I see his face, it's just like, I want to break my knuckle on your nose, dude. I don't know what it is. Benjamin saying he wants to write the episode on the spot. I won't stop you. So yeah, Harry also points out that the color's changing and it's rising in the atmosphere. Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, so when I did videos on Jupiter, so like the different layers, if you make a cross section of Jupiter and you look at the different layers of the atmosphere, they kind of have different colors. And those bands that you see on Jupiter, you can't really see them from our perspective, but they are like raised and lowered basically. So like the red, I forget what chemicals I'm going to say ammonia, but that's probably not right. But the red streaks and the white streaks and the combinations thereof correspond to these different chemical makeups and levels in the atmosphere. And my understanding is that the red is actually lower than the white. And so that's why the Great Red Spot is red, because it's like the eye of a hurricane, you know, like it's down, it clears out this hole. And so you can see down into the Great Red Spot, and down below is where the red stuff is. And that's why it's red. So maybe if it's becoming lighter, it's because whatever it is that makes up those white clouds, I have to research stuff, guys. I don't know this off the top of my head. But whatever's making up those white clouds is maybe kind of like infiltrating and starting to pile up over the top of it, which maybe reduces the velocity, and that's why it's shrinking. I just made that up. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is, but we'll have to look later. Roman mythology says snakebite 9/11. It is Roman. You're right. I said Greek. Thank you for that. Kyle Taylor says, have you ever thought about doing the science of space movies and real tech or theories we're working on, like Sunshine or Event Horizon? No, I don't think I've ever done that. The science of space movies. There's whole channels that do that, though. I think that's maybe why I haven't really jumped into that. There is a channel called Science versus Cinema. That's a really good channel. I don't think they posted in a while, though. And I want to say they actually did one on Sunshine. That sounds familiar. So that's my excuse for not doing that. Yeah, I could write that down, though. I mean, I could. I'm interested in movies that like really get the science right. Interstellar has some flaws, obviously, but their whole use of relativistic time dilation as a plot device was interesting. You don't see that very often. And hi, Etienne. I'm sure I'm never saying your name right. Etienne? Guru? Is that French? Because if it's French, I guarantee you I'm pronouncing it wrong. My trick to saying words in French is basically just don't pronounce any consonants. Or just pick a consonant in the word somewhere and make that the only one that you pronounce. When I went to France in 2010, and we went to this town that was up by it was in Normandy. We went to see the World War II spots. Well, that was the only one. We went to see that World War II spot. But anyway, I'll just say that the name was spelled Aromanches. If I were to say it in my Texas accent, it'd be Aromanches. It was like ARRO. Was there a W there? No. MANCHES. So I thought I was adding a little French stank to it by saying Aromanche. Right? I was like, that's right. We're going to Aromanche. So we're at the train station, and they're like, well, you're going. And I was like, we're going to Aromanche. And she was like, quoi? And I'm like, Aromanche? Right? And I was like showing the name. And she looked at it, and she was like, Ahomall. And I was like, what? Okay, fine, we're going to There you go. I was the ugly American for a moment there. Mostly it was just my wife laughing at me, but so Etienne is saying arrow. You're actually putting the CH at the end. This particular train station person did not put the CH at the end. It was literally just Ahomall. That's how she said it. And I was like, okay, what you said. I'm going there. French teacher told me I spoke French with a Chinese accent. I knew right there. French with a Chinese accent. That's interesting. Got to work for that one. I do French with an American accent. Badly. Every year I say I'm going to learn Spanish, like really learn Spanish and become fluent in it, and it just has not ever happened. Even though I've lived in Texas my whole life, even though I have worked in multiple restaurants, which is where I learned most of my Spanish, even though I took 4 years of Spanish in high school and college, even though I once worked at a Spanish language production company making Spanish language TV commercials. I was editing Spanish language TV commercials, and I still can't speak it. I can speak well enough to like ask a question in Spanish, but I can't pick apart the answer, because when they respond, rapid fire, really fast, 10 syllables per second, I'm just like, what? Probably just need to, I don't know. It just bothers me. I don't like being a monolingual. I want to be able to say I'm bilingual in some way. But I will say, just the Spanish that I do know, which all kind of stems from Latin, the Romantic languages and whatnot. It just that gives me a better understanding of other languages and other I want to say other cultures, but like to the point that like I can look at a word that's a Romance language word and have a vague idea of what it's about. You know, it's helpful. You learn a lot more about your own language too, actually. Sawyer says, I have a fun theory. Think of every logical alien that for fun they upload themselves to us to enjoy emotions like like Six Flags. So when we are having a panic attack, they are having fun. Okay, I see what you're saying. So like, it's like every time we have a panic attack, it's just aliens that have tapped into us, and that sounds a lot like Scientology, by the way. You gotta tread lightly. You're really dipping into Scientology territory there with like Thetans and Xenu. It's these Thetans that are the souls of aliens that were boiled in a volcano that have slipped into you and caused all of your psychic troubles. That's pretty much Scientology, if I'm not mistaken. Benjamin says, my trick to French pronunciation is to speak immediately after trying to swallow a mouthful of peanut butter while holding my nose. It's pretty funny. It's true. Power generation efficiency from coal down to solar panels through microalgae, petrol engines. I mean, I've covered in my hydrogen fuel cell video. I compared hydrogen to battery electric to gasoline or petrol. So I did a little bit of that, but I definitely didn't like go from coal all the way down. Sorry, I'm writing stuff. Yeah, that's an interesting topic. Sean says he grew up down by Starship in Brownsville for 20 years. I know how to curse in Spanish only. Yeah, exactly. But I know more Japanese after living there for only 2 years. Yeah, you have to be immersed in it. You got to live there. I went to Mexico for this was kind of fun, actually. It was a screenwriters retreat that a screenwriter friend of mine had set up. She invited some people. I was one of them. We got a house, and we just kind of hung out. It was in a place called Sayulita, which was near Puerto Vallarta on the Pacific side. Yeah. So anyway, just being there for a week, I would say 30 or 40% more proficient by the end of that week than I was when I first got there. And the thing is, I always get so mad when you go to language learning sites. I'm going to call out Duolingo, not for any specific reason. It's just that's one that I've used in the past. They teach you stuff that you never actually say. Like, there's the whole 80-20 rule that like probably 80% of the language that you use is done by like 20% of the words in your vocabulary, something like that. It's the whole Pareto's law. But they don't focus on that 20% that you need to know to be 80% proficient. They focus on all the words. So you learn things like, the elephant is in the library. You will never in your life say that in real life. But they like teach you these things, the elefante is in la biblioteca. And that frustrates me to no end, because when I went to Mexico, 90% of the communication that I was doing was at the convenience store, at the coffee shop. It's transactional, And I learned how to do the numbers. I mean, I knew the numbers already, but like they just kind of flew out really fast. The pleasantries of hello, how are you, good day, all that kind of stuff. That's mostly what you need to know. And language learning apps and websites, I haven't really been on any new ones lately, so this may not be true of some of them, but I'm just saying, like, my frustration in the past has always been they teach you things. They don't teach you in the way that you learn them. They don't teach you in the way that you use them. They just teach you words, and then you have to go out and realize, oh, so much of what I learned is never used. And then there's the fact that in high school you learn Spanish, but it's the Spanish they speak in Spain, not the Spanish they speak in Mexico and, you know, next door, with the people that live right around you. But you're right. I worked in restaurants, you know, in college, and I learned all the curse words. I learned all the bad stuff to say. And the funny thing is, you don't really know how bad they are, because that's just like what you hear in the kitchen, and then you like repeat that in, you know, more formal company, and people are like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with this guy?" It's like, yeah, I know. I might need to start wrapping this up. It's coming up on an hour and a half that I've been doing this, but let me get caught up on your things here. A note about hydrogen video. You didn't include hydride hydrogen storage, which offsets all the negatives of liquid and gas hydrogen storage. Okay. I'd have to look into it. That's and it's been a while since I've looked into that topic. I guess my question would be, is that something that would be stored in the car in that state, or would it be stored like at the station in that state? The hydride state. I still think hydrogen is just not going to happen, simply because first of all, 90% of the hydrogen, actually probably more like 95, 96% of the hydrogen that's created is through that steam reforming process, which creates methane and puts CO2 in the atmosphere. So it's not environmentally any better. It might actually even be a little worse. Yes, you can do it through hydrolysis, but that takes a lot of energy. And if you have a big solar setup, yeah, I mean, it's doable, but I just don't know that it could compete with battery. And anyway, I had made the point in that video that I remember saying some people are just so used to going somewhere to fill up their car with gas that the whole plugging in to your garage at home thing just doesn't it's hard for them to wrap their heads around. And the fact that a lot of people don't have garages and places to plug in, they have to park on the street and whatnot. And you know, it's still a salient point, I suppose, but I don't know. EVs have already gotten such a head start, and there's so much that hydrogen would have to do to make up for it. The fact that there's like literally 8 hydrogen stations in the entire United States, and they're all in California. It's just like, it's starting below zero. I don't know. I'm really not as negative on hydrogen as some people are, but I think we're too far gone. I don't know. Just anyway. There's coffee here. I thought it was just a marketing ploy. It is not. I am drinking coffee, and I'll have another one when I'm done. Sausalito's 40 minutes from your home. No, this was Sayulita. It wasn't Sausalito. It was Sayulita. 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 Just clarifying. Harry says the whole world will have the same language in the future anyway. I'd be down for that. It's going to be internet speak. Mitchell says, I think you should do a Meet Joe live stream for everyone. What? A Meet Joe live stream? Explain yourself, sir. I don't know what you mean by that. If I don't say that, Joe, the next time you go in the house, there'll be a huge elephant in there with a library 2D backdrop. Yeah, that's going to happen. And Etienne's talking about solid state batteries. Man, I tell you what. John B. Goodenough is a friggin' legend. Dude's like 96 years old and he's still working on new battery technology. That still blows my mind. I never really specifically covered solid state batteries, actually. That's why I do these live streams. You guys just make my channel happen. I'm guessing, Mitchell, you're saying I should do a Meet Joe live stream on the main channel that's not just for Patreon. That's what I'm assuming you meant by that. You know what's funny? My relationship with live streams has changed quite a bit over the years. For a while there, I was trying to do weekly live streams on Wednesdays. I called them the Wednesday News because science changes so often and there's like new news stories all the time. And I wanted to do a weekly live stream, just kind of talk about the news segments. And at the time, YouTube was really pushing live streams. They were like, you got to be doing live streams or you basically will never grow or something. And so I was doing those for a while. At the time, I was really uncomfortable with live streams, and clearly I'm still a little. But the thing about live streams, when I was doing those Wednesday news segments, I was trying to keep them short. I was trying to keep them as something that people would watch later. I don't think I really understood what live streams are supposed to be all about. It really is supposed to be longer form content. There's a guy that I'm friends with named Nick Nimmin. He's sort of a YouTube guru. He does one. He's probably doing it right now, actually. Let me look. One second. I just wanted to make sure I was right before I said this. Yeah, he's live right now. He does Saturday morning live streams every Saturday for like 4 hours. I'm not even joking. Like, I've seen him go 6 hours. I don't know how he still has a voice. But what I was doing when I was doing my live streams, the weekly ones, I would do them for like 15 minutes. 20 minutes was too long because I was seeing it as something people would watch later. When really, from an algorithmic standpoint, it's really just about if somebody sits down and starts watching a live stream and for whatever reason they stick around, they keep watching for 30, 40 minutes, an hour or longer, that tells the algorithm, hey, he watched an hour of this guy's content today. Let's feed him more stuff. That's really how the live streams are supposed to work in terms of growth on YouTube. And I was keeping them too short. Just my framework about it was wrong. And the one that I did when I hit 500,000, that was the first one that was the first live stream I had done on the main channel, probably in close to a year. And that was enlightening for a couple of reasons. One, the number of people that showed up, there was like constantly about 1,000 people watching, which, by the way, that when I first got started live streaming, I would have urinated everywhere. The idea of 1,000 people watching me, like there's 25 people watching me right now, that made me nervous once upon a time. And the fact that I was able to do that and not get too weird about it that was a victory for me, you know? The other thing about live streams is people throw those super chats at you, and I'm not gonna lie, I made a nice little spike in revenue that day. And there's a part of me that's kind of like, maybe I should be doing more of this, because, you know, like Tim does all the live streams of all the launches and stuff. I've never asked him how much he makes doing those, but every time I watch one, there's like 20,000 people watching, and I'm just seeing like live or super chats just boom, 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 and I'm just like, oh my god, I can see why he does them. I mean, obviously he enjoys them, and he's good at it. And honestly, he's the reason why I stopped live streaming launches, because I would just rather watch him. Honestly, like he's much more in depth on these things than I am. So, anyway, where am I going with that? I guess what I'm saying is I've gotten less nervous about doing live streams. And I don't know if I should be doing more of them or not. Sometimes I like the idea of it, and sometimes I don't. I still like the idea of surprise streams. That's what I like doing. I like just popping in on a live stream every once in a while, and not having it being announced. Not the whole point of a surprise stream, if that name doesn't mean anything to you, the idea of a live stream or a surprise stream is that literally it might be 10 o'clock at night and I've got a drink and it's like, screw it. And I just hop on and do a live stream. And when it's over, I delete it or I unlist it, basically. It's not something for everybody in the world to see. It is just, if you happen to catch me on there, it's like a little woo surprise kind of thing. I like the idea of that. I like the idea that a viewer might just be like on YouTube and suddenly they see I've got a live stream out there, like, what? And it's like a unicorn. He just happened to catch the surprise stream kind of thing. I like that. I like that more than like setting up some big event and coming in and, that's not, I don't know. That's what I would rather be doing. But, maybe I'll be doing some more of that. I don't know. And I'll be honest, if I'm having a bad month, like if the AdSense revenue is just crap for some reason, and it fluctuates, it does. A live stream at this point, at the size that the channel is right now, that's a good way to make a little chunk of change and keep it back up, bounce it back up to where, it was expected to be. I do have to keep an eye on the revenue that I make doing the channel now at this point, now that I've got a whole team and I'm doing it full time and, I've got debts to pay and stuff. So, I have to keep an eye on that, and a pop-up live stream is a good way to kind of boost that when I'm having a bad month. So that's kind of what I use them for at this point. I'm just kind of being honest with you guys. But they are fun, and I like interacting with people. And as you can see, I get ideas for videos, but that's mostly with you guys. You guys are special. You know that, right? But Mitchell saying how someone interview you and ask me questions. Like, I find a lot of the stories from your life super interesting, and you kind of miss them in my videos. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Well, I mean, you guys get that here. Let me tell you something. As somebody who at 15 years old wrote his first feature screenplay and has been studying story structure and storytelling and comedy for the majority of my life, that's the only reason my stories are interesting. My life is really not that interesting, I promise. I just have learned over the years how to make the stories interesting through narrative and story. But I do try to put them in my videos still. I mean, I was talking the one the other day with a sketch about not being able to sleep. That was a personal thing. There's one coming up that I'm probably going to basically pitch a screenplay idea that I've been floating around for a while. I never really shared screenplay ideas that much on here, but I thought I would do it for this one because it's kind of a funny one and it fits. Joe, you ROXOR, don't sell yourself short, bro. You rockstar? You call me a rock star? I don't know what that means. But it sounds nice, so thank you. Weekly news or bi-weekly, fortnightly would be really cool too. Maybe not live. Well, see, the thing about the news thing is now I kind of cover that on the podcast. That's kind of what I'm doing there. And there's also TMI, by the way. TMI is basically a live stream that's not live because I don't cut. I just hit record and start talking. A big reason why, there were multiple reasons, but one of those reasons that I started doing TMI was to kind of get used to talking without a net. The biggest struggle that I had with live streams was that when I record these videos, it's scripted and I can edit it later on. So I'm literally just doing it one line at a time when I'm recording them. But when you do a live stream, you're just talking. And I couldn't stand dead air. Like a second ago, I wrote just something down and there was probably a good 15 seconds of me just sitting here doing this. I'm kind of fine with that now. I've kind of gotten used to that. But back in the day, if there weren't garbage coming out of my mouth every second, I felt like I was failing. But yeah, I don't know. I've gotten more used to the whole live stream thing. But anyway, no, the TMI as well. It's TMI was going to be a place where I was kind of share stuff that I've run across that I think is interesting, things that are going on in my life. I made the point somewhere that So my wife is a teacher, and she just kind of started going back to work, and I'm still a little weird about whipping out my camera and talking and doing TMIs and stuff when she's there. It's just weird and kind of gross. So since she's been home for the last few months, it's been kind of, I've been a little light on the TMI, but I think I'm going to pick back up on that. And what I did yesterday, for those who don't follow the TMI channel, I'm going to start doing, I'm going to try to stick with this. I'm calling them pre-games. So whenever I shoot the video, of course, I got to turn on the lights and I got to do the whole thing. And I figure while I'm doing that, I might as well just like record a TMI video and kind of talk about, like, while I'm getting set up, just set it up and talk while I'm getting it ready, and then, you know, shoot the video. And that's what I did yesterday. You guys tell me what you think of that. I didn't really hear a big response, but that's just a quick and easy way to be putting that stuff out there. TMI originally was going to be more news stuff, and that kind of fell away because I was covering news stories on the podcast. It's kind of hard to balance all those things. Like, I've got my channel, I've got my Patreon content, I've got TMI, I've got Ludicrous Future. Am I overextending myself? Might be doing too much. Anyway, so let's try to start wrapping this up. So Wayne says to share screenplay ideas. Okay, there's one coming. It's a fun one. I like it. And Sawyer's freaking out that John B. Goodenough is 97. He's 97 years old, and he's still innovating. It's not just that he's still working; he's still innovating stuff. Obviously, he works with people, so it's not just him. But yeah, I'll tell you what. It's 11:30. Sawyer saying, if you want more Live Joe, lower your Patreon contribution. Well, here's the deal. Like I said before, that doesn't go into my pocket. That goes to my team people. So it has nothing to do with what I bring home. Not anymore. Not really. It's I'm sending it to the team people. So that wouldn't that actually wouldn't affect that. But no, look, if it's putting a crimp on your lifestyle, if you're short on money, then absolutely I don't need it more than you do. So take care of yourselves first, people. On that note, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. I think it's time. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling that time. So let me get over here, make sure I got the thing up. Because what happens is I'll say, all right, bye. And then it takes me 15 minutes to figure out how to stop the live stream. Because that's how I roll. But, so Leah's saying she liked the TMI yesterday and would like to see more. Okay, cool. I'll keep that up. Thank you. Anya's saying, have a great day. You too, Anya. I'm saying Anya, not Anja. I'm assuming it's Anya. But yeah, so you guys, thanks a lot. If you're in Europe, then have a great evening. And if you're in the States, have a great Saturday and a great weekend. And video coming on Monday. It's been a bit of a beast, but we'll see how it goes. It's going to be sort of political just because it's on a topic that's now in American politics. So we'll see how that gets received. Looking forward to that. Anyway, thanks again, you guys. Yeah, so the whiskey live stream, I already scheduled it, but I think it's going to be on like the 20th or something like that. It's on a Tuesday. I'm doing them on Tuesday evenings. Not this coming Tuesday, but the one after that. I'll announce it in Patreon. You'll see it. And for the $10 and up people, I'll be doing the video chat next Saturday morning. So, all right, guys. Lovely talking. Thanks for coming, and have a great rest of the weekend, and I'll see you then. Take care.